Hello and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. It is 4:41 in the morning here in the UK, but don't worry about that. We are still pumped and ready to go because we've got a lot to talk about with the instant reaction to WrestleMania 39 Night 2. My name's Scott. This one over here is Rob. And again, we've got a lot to say. So stick with us and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so once again, welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We are here for the instant reaction. Rob, it is, man, I don't even know. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know if you know what I'm thinking. But emotionally, I'm all over the place. That was a crazy end to WrestleMania. A crazy WrestleMania weekend altogether, and a very strange night too, in my opinion. There are some great things to go into. A few things I'm a bit kind of concerned about and do have questions about as well. Of course, would be wrong not to jump a little bit into the main event before we fully squeeze out this orange for its juice later on. But general thoughts, first of all, of the closing moments of WrestleMania.
I said it Thursday that this was going to happen. I said it on every single stream building up to this main event. That is what's going to happen. And it happened. I called it from the minute Cody beat Solo. That was going to happen.
I think that was the game changer. We, like I said, we talked about earlier in the week as well. It seemed like the Cody situation and the Solo entanglement, to use a Will Smith phrase, was going to come back and bite us really. And it was a bit of frustration for me. I mean, just because you were right doesn't make it right, is what I always say.
I'm just annoyed I didn't bonus point it, man.
Hey, look, I'm annoyed at more than just our points tally for the predictions podcast. But yeah, we're going to go into each match just a bit here, of course, on the instant reaction. Let's start out, mate, with, I guess the way you should start all reviews already. We're going to start at the very beginning. But guys, if you join us live or on demand, thank you so much. Please check us out on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, check us out on TikTok, and subscribe here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We really do appreciate you joining us here for this stream. Now, we're going to start at the very beginning, like I said. It started with a very big match between Omos and Brock Lesnar. First of all, we've got Sludge Sports joining us again. Hello, I'm so sad. Sludge, I get you, buddy. I will now hate Roman Reigns forever. Sludge Sports, stick with us, mate. We're going to get into that match quite in depth, don't get me wrong. But we're going to go through the card just a little bit. We've touched on the main event already so far, but we will go much deeper into it as we go on throughout the night as well. Let's start off though, like we said, with the first match on this card, and we did have Brock Lesnar versus Omar, something that we were all kind of concerned about as far as whether or not this was kind of a thrown together silly match that weren't going to do much for either side. But as the time went on and we got closer to the event, we saw what this could become, and for me, Rob, this was exactly what it needed to be, as we say often on this show, but also what I expected. What did you think of Brock Lesnar versus Omos?
It was quick. I thought it was going to go a little longer because the way they kind of showcased it on the build up and stuff like that. But I think this is just a Brock Lesnar match now, isn't it? It's quick. It's to the point. As Sludge says, Brock versus Omos was short. Yes, it was. It was hornswoggle short. That's how short it was. Yeah, but I mean, we got the F5. Shit,
No, that's all we needed, though, isn't it? That's all we said in the build-up towards this as well. Look, we're not even 5 minutes into the stream, and already we're done with the first match, which I don't think lasted 5 minutes itself. But look, that's not a bad thing. I just think it would have probably done better for the pacing to be later on in the night. And I do think a big a big miss as far as WrestleMania Night 2 goes was its pacing. I do think it was kind of all over the place. It seemed like it was desperately hanging on at times to cling on to a runtime, and it was a very strange feeling. I'm going to put it out there quite early on, Rob. I think Night 1 stole the weekend without a doubt. There were great things on Night 2. Some things that I think maybe a little bit of a tweak in the result might have made it a little bit better as well. But that's not taking away too much from the performance from Night 2. But I got to be honest, Night 1 definitely seems where it's at as far as WrestleMania 39 for me. James Hamilton's joining us saying you might as well at this point bring back the Rock Ross and face Roman Reigns. If we're going this far down, let's bring all the legends down as well. Look again, like I said, we're going to get into that much later on in the stream much deeper. But yeah, this is kind of my sentiment as well, man. Like, and again, I don't want to ruin what I'm going to say later on, but now what is my kind of big concern? Yes, it could be Cody in the future, but they're missing a lot of opportunities here. I'll just say that. And we'll get back to Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes throughout the stream as well. But let's move on to the next match because, again, the first one was so quick. We moved into the kind of special super duper, give me what you got, show us your best headlock challenge match between all the gals. Of course, the big expectation going into this was that Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey would win. And, well, there we go. I don't mean to keep it too short with some of these matches, mate, but there's not much to say in the early going for WrestleMania Night 2.
I'm glad that this show is PG because I don't know what. I'm more upset with the outcome of this match than I am of the Roman and Cody match.
Look, I told you on the build-up. It makes sense. They feel like a team. Look, you've never been a fan of Ronda, but
the problem is this.
They're a team.
They walked out in their judo gis, fine. They stood on a rope, disappeared throughout the entire match, tagged back in, and done that. And
yeah, you know what? Shayna looked like she was hurt as well. I don't know if that was legit or what. Sludge Sports says the women's match was above my expectations. Fair enough.
The match itself was really good. It's just the final outcome. What was the point?
You didn't like it. Hey guys, here from Silver Lakes Rams FF. I think I'm reading that the right way. Join us from Twitch. Thank you very much, mate. Wherever you join us from YouTube, at RM Pro Wrestling on Twitter or in Twitch, we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know what you thought of WrestleMania Night 2. That is the stream here tonight. Of course, we have covered Night 1 already. If you haven't already seen that, check it out on our YouTube page. But this is all about Night 2. So let us know what you thought about the event. Now, I thought it was a decent match, but like it obviously didn't live up to what the men's equivalent was on Night 1. It was always the winner that I would expect it to be. But of course, you aren't too pleased for that. But fair enough. I don't think there's much else to say about this right now. This is a quick rundown. Of course, I don't mean to skim past these matches too much, but of course, we've got a lot to get on with here, and it's 10 to 5 in the morning here in the UK. So forgive us if we're not going spot, by spot and things like that. Green Giant says Night 1 was way better. I'd have to agree with you, mate.
Yes,
it was really weird. In recent years, we've said this 2-night thing has kind of worked really well. When Night 1's been really good, Night 2 has been a little bit better. This time round, if I was going to very quickly rate them out of 10, let's say out of 5. Let's say it was a 5 out of 5 Night 1, which I don't think it was either. But let's just say a 5 today would be a 3. Good. Which maybe that sounds really harsh. Let me cut it down a bit further than that. Let's say it's a 10 out of 10 and a 7.5 out of 10 or something like that. It was a little bit of a struggle. Do you like MLB? Hey, a casual fan of baseball, not a massive fan, don't get me wrong, but there we are. But thanks for your questions. Thank you so much. Why wasn't LA Knight there? Yeah, more like nah. What the heck happened, mate? I don't understand why LA Knight was missing. Let's get into that for a little bit. I'm really, really frustrated with that.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of someone that's upset when it's a yeah and not yeah. It's just a yeah.
Bro, I don't know, bro.
What waste?
How
What an absolute waste.
how
And there are all
how
these
can we have the
rumors.
Miz versus Shane McMahon in
And
this most
we'll
ridiculous moment?
get to
And we
that.
can do that and put over Shane McMahon for a second and let Snoop Dogg do the worst people's elbow and punch I think I've seen in the wrestling history.
Yeah, it was funny
But
though.
Bobby Lashley and LA Knight can't get on the damn show. Like,
Oh,
what is
Lashley
going
as
on?
well. I mean, okay, let's quickly jump into this. Both Lashley and LA Knight, right? LA Knight, this is ridiculous not to use them, right? There's all these rumors, and I've been skeptical about this for a while, man. Like, it's past like 2 weeks, this kind of LA Knight's getting a push after Mania. Well, why after Mania? Why not in the build up to Mania? Why not on Mania? That's what I never understood about. And I thought, well, surely they understand what's going on. They're going to push him and they're going to do something. They're going to realize, look, bad timing meant we didn't give him a feud going into Mania, but we're going to do something with him on the night, you know. Like, my big thing was that it was going to be involving Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe that's fantasy booking. Maybe they couldn't quite get that over the line. Maybe Stone Cold was never meant to be there in the first place, right? But what could you do? Something else. Bring him out. Let him beat up, let him beat up the Miz. Let him fight Chad Gable or some sort of heel like that, you know. Let him do something. And he didn't. And that was a real disappointment. Now, going on to the Bobby Lashley thing, of course, there were rumors over the past 24 hours because of KSI showing up on night one of WrestleMania. I don't know if you've seen this, and we won't go too deep on this because, to be honest, I'm not that familiar with the situation itself. But KSI has apologized for using a racial slur in a recent Sideman video, which is a real shame. And it's a slur that, although I'm not of that ethnicity, is something that cuts me quite deep, having grown up in an area that is predominantly filled with people that would have suffered from that. That word. And again, I'm tripping over my words here because I'm trying to be careful what I say and not go too deep on it because it is a very touchy situation. But basically, horrible time, right? You know, horrible for the people that feel offended by that, and horrible also for the people working in WWE. That this would have been great for them, and maybe is what I'm saying. KSI has been pulled from this potential match with Bobby Lashley. Due to that, maybe not, I don't know, but that's just a little bit of speculation there. But instead, what we got was Bobby Lashley coming to the ramp, not even the ring, and holding up the trophy and then going back. I mean, what a disgrace. What a slap in the face for Bobby Lashley. Very, very frustrating for me. Really, really annoyed about that. And annoyed for Bobby Lashley. You know, we've been talking about in the past few years how he was like the star of the pandemic era, if you want to call it that. Bayley, Bobby Lashley, people like that, really. Drew McIntyre, of course, kept the company afloat at a real, real difficult time. And then it comes to WrestleMania, and yes, things fall apart with Bray Wyatt. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. And if it's a health issue related to Bray Wyatt, then I just hope the best for him. And you can't deal with these situations. But what you can do is make the best out of it. And I think them making the best out of it by giving him the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal win on SmackDown and a trophy lift on night 2 is not enough. What I did find really interesting as well was him tweeting, of course, saying, I'm free. Night 1, night 2, I'm free. And it felt like a non-WWE back tweet now that you look back on it, because unless, it was supposed to be with KSI and maybe they pulled the plug because of the tweet that KSI put out tonight saying, look, I'm going to take a break from social media. I'm apologizing for what I said. Maybe it's related to that. I don't know. If so, then terrible luck for Bobby Lashley. I feel like it was just kind of thrown out there comment. And instead, Bobby Lashley was given this kind of lift up the trophy segment, which I think was, again, not worthy of the work that Bobby Lashley's put in. So really frustrating to me. And I want to see more of him. I want to see him do more. We had a comment on the build-up show last night, basically saying that what if LA Knight and Lashley are doing something together? Well, I was kind of disappointed about that idea, although I was excited about the question. I thought, that's something I haven't thought about. I did think, you know what? No, that's 2 segments into one. I don't want it. I want it to be 2 separate segments. They both deserve something. Little did I know, it wouldn't be belittled from 2 segments down to 1. It'd be belittled down to 0. 0 if you're not counting, which I'm not, Bobby Lashley's ridiculous trophy lift. It's a real shame. Bobby Lashley didn't get the moment he deserved. Again, you can't help what happened with Bray. LA Knight, maybe, I'm guessing I wanted Austin fantasy booking it. But even if it's not that, you could do a lot more than what you gave LA Knight as well. Now, there is opportunity, though, don't get me wrong, for the Raw after Mania. And we always talk about how WrestleMania makes certain people and it makes certain chants. And we had Andy on earlier on from Russian Rock, who, graciously gave us his time. He was there at SoFi Stadium and kind of our kind of ears to the ground, let us know what people at the stadium were thinking about certain topics. And he was basically saying throughout the weekend that LA Knight feels like he's in this kind of what do you call it, like Fandango, Daniel Bryan sort of situation where people are cheering and all that kind of thing, so and that chant gets made over that weekend. Now LA Knight seems to be in that little bubble at the moment, and to not capitalize on it on Mania is weird. If they don't do it on Raw, then I'd be very, very disappointed. So I'm looking forward to seeing Raw, because I've been excited about Raw after Mania for the first time in years. I do think it's going to be a little bit different to the past few years, but after seeing some of the things I saw tonight, I'm a bit concerned. Maybe it's not going to be. But hey, guys, when you get a chance, check out our Raw After Mania predictions, where myself and Rob go through every single one of the kind of rumor names at the moment, whether it be returns or whether it be debuts, whether it be call-ups from NXT. We'll go through them all and let you know how kind of realistic we think these predictions are, and also fantasy booking what we think they'll become as well. Anyway, it was a real kind of disappointment, like I say, not seeing LA Knight, not seeing Bobby Lashley. What would you have done with LA Knight, Rob?
I think the thing that we said,
if you can't fantasy book Austin, what do you do?
Just have him come out and cut a promo on the Miz, drop the Miz and then have his
ready-made, isn't it?
Yeah,
ready-made. Look, we'll get into the Shane McMahon thing as well, because although I'm sure people want to jump on and be negative about certain things, I've got to be honest. I feel for him in some. I feel for him injured. Don't get me wrong. I think it was a real shame what happened to Shane tonight, and I think to make jokes and make light of someone being seriously injured is a disgraceful thing to do. Really, really frustrating seeing some of the jokes going around about it tonight. Look, I know, like, past few years, Shane hasn't been the most exciting, and there's been rumors of a backstage politicking and stuff like that, and you're always going to link it to Vince McMahon. But for me, some of the things I've seen tonight have been real disappointing. A few kind of comments here as well. We've also got, there we go, why went LA Knight there, as we said. James says, the problem with Ronda isn't so much her, but she was introduced into the universe. But the way she was introduced in the universe, she was shoved down her throats and then used a Roddy Piper gimmick to try and win us over some more. Some good points there. Then teamed with The Rock for a tag match and never won us over by herself. Look, all of that work, though, got to be honest, like, that was working at the time. Like, that was the best stuff.
But now, no, it might not just be me, but one cares.
Like you said earlier, that star power is definitely kind of faded, hasn't it? Sludge Sports says, why did Bobby Lashley just walk out and do nothing? Exactly that. Completely agree, of course, as you can tell by what I've been saying. They need a filler due to Bray Wyatt injury and move Bobby Lashley to the Andre Giant Battle Royal. So they use Shane O'Mac, of all people, and Snoop to fill up some time space instead of using any. Now, yeah, frustrating for me, man. Like, again, it could have been LA Knight's moment. I'm not annoyed at Shane, because, to be honest, mate, we had 30 more minutes to go for comparing to night one. They could have done both, and that's what annoys me. I don't like that people looking at this Shane thing going, oh, Shane instead of LA Knight. No, we could have had both. We don't know how long that Shane thing was planned. That could have been planned for a month before LA Knight, don't get me wrong, was getting over a month ago. But it's only been the past 2-3 weeks that it's really started to be like, like he could, like, secondary main event this show if he really wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's that over. So yeah, Shane isn't the problem to me. Fate Altec says, I see you all in SummerSlam 2024. Reigns versus Lesnar. My goodness, SummerSlam 24, mate. We've got a way to go for that, about 16, 17 months, and you think we might end up Reigns Lesnar once again. Look, I wouldn't put it past them, and that's my concern when it comes to Roman Reigns, which we're going to get into later on in the stream as well. But let's get back to the matter at hand, mate. Let's talk a little bit more in depth on some of these matches that we've seen tonight as well. Of course, talked a little bit there about the women's multi-tag match, but you know what? I've been a bit negative, Rob, but it's about time I really, really threw some praise on what was an absolutely incredible showing from three fantastic athletes and performers. Of course, I'm talking about the Intercontinental Championship match between Drew McIntyre, Gunther, and Sheamus. Man, this match was exactly what I hoped it would be. And I'm just so pleased for all of them. And we put out a tweet. It was a treat, don't get me wrong, at RM Pro Wrestling, talking about this match and saying basically along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing what we put out at the time. It was more poetic, but it basically said, people all the time talk about the Intercontinental title meaning something again, and wrestlers making it mean something. Well, at the moment, the IC title, it means something because of matches like this.
Yeah. For those who are new, aren't subscribers, the way we kind of describe these sort of matches are, well, in this instance, it's three big men smacking meat. It was great. Chop City was on full force. Yeah, I honestly, and the thing is, the way the whole match was booked, I didn't know who was going to win. It wasn't predictable.
It was so unpredictable. It was a fantastic match. James Hamilton says as well, just imagine if that was the main event, those three killed it. Look, I'm not down on the main event. We'll get into that in a bit, but I think what you're saying there is that this is worthy of the main event, and I would 100%
this is main event caliber.
Agree with you. Yeah, this is what happens with a 2-night Mania, and you could, like we said earlier on, before we even saw this match, man, we were like, this could main event one of the nights. And man, after watching it, look, Rhea Charlotte, their performance showed they could have main evented. The emotion behind Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens winning showed it deserved to be in the main event. The match we saw tonight, definitely worthy of a main event. But this match here as well, the Intercontinental Championship match between these three of them, unbelievable. Now, a little bit of selfishness from me, Rob, as I said all along. I kind of thought Sheamus might not win it because I hope he does it over here in London because, again, as you might be able to tell from our accents, we're from jolly old England. And, of course, we've got Money in the Bank here on the 1st of July. So if we get to see that in person, I'll be very, very happy. I think the only downside to that match is Sheamus not getting that win. But I do think it's coming. It's got to be coming, right?
I don't know, man.
Okay. So you said earlier on this idea that he doesn't quite do it. Yeah, okay.
I want it to happen because I want him to hit the Grand Slam and be the IC champion. He get his big praise, obviously, in the UK as well. The fans will go wild, but just this idea of him always being so close and never just getting it is such a story.
Do you think we're going into a program between Sheamus and Drew individually? We didn't quite see a Drew heel turn or anything like that tonight. So where do you think we're going with all three of these guys? Because the rumor was, if Gunther loses and Cody wins, which of course didn't happen, either of those things, we could have seen that going on. But yeah, it didn't happen. So where are we going with Gunther? We're going with Drew, and where are we going with Sheamus?
I think we go again. I think they try and top it again. Yeah.
In Puerto Rico or Backlash?
I'm happy for either. I'd pay to see this match again. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't bother me.
It was so good.
Just let them top it.
Yeah.
Put in a stipulation. Make them do something extra. It doesn't need to be a ladder match, but just. I don't know. I don't know what a stipulation is. Just a hardcore.
You can do.
Just something extra.
They don't need it. They're kind of almost like. I don't know, like beyond the gimmick match, it's unbelievable the performance between the three of them tonight, the chemistry as well, and like the moments between, and I loved seeing it. Drew and Sheamus going in the middle of the ring in the middle of WrestleMania. Yes, it ain't a one-on-one match or anything like that. We talked a few years ago before we branched off into the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, on the main Rebellious Noise channel, about was it Fastlane where they faced each other in the PC, and it was like, why is this not the WrestleMania match? Like that, like they were incredible, working well together. Yeah. And, I just love seeing them two in the middle of the ring. The times that Gunther gave them to work on each other, and then Gunther jumped in to kind of spoil the party, but still at the same time, excite the crowd as well. I think it was, honestly, not only, like we said on the way to this, potential for a match of the weekend, but one of the matches of the year as well. Quickly gets a comment here from Green Giant says, I low-key want a Butch versus Gunther IC match. That or Santos. There we go. Mate, Butch, yeah, that's a good shout. He's been jumping all over Gunther, as you saw on SmackDown a little while ago as well. What we're going to do now, guys, we're going to try and bring in Andy. You would have seen him, of course, on the build-up show earlier on, live from SoFi Stadium as well. So let's bring in Andy here and see how he's feeling about WrestleMania Night 2. How you doing, Andy?
Good work, guys. So I've got one question for you. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm guessing everyone's walking out of that venue in high in conversation on that main event, right? We're losing him. We're losing him.
Oh, is that upset? Even the signal don't want to work for him.
The only way I can kind of say what it felt like was, do you remember at WrestleMania 34 when Reigns was beaten by Lesnar?
Yeah.
And everyone just couldn't quite understand. It was the one where Lesnar threw the title at Vince afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I was there live for that, and it felt very similar.
Yeah, so just so you know, there might be difficulties. Obviously,
where the crowd, it's not unanimous. There is a... Yeah, sorry guys, I am literally just still outside SoFi. So still a lot of people around.
No worries, man. Yeah, of course, signals are going to be great. Like we said, 80,000 people trying to compete
still
for
in the background.
4G.
Let me see if I can find somewhere.
That's all right. So it seems like a real mixed atmosphere tonight, leaving the stadium.
Yeah, I'd say so. No one seems to be too down. I think everyone's just fantasy booking is all really. Everyone's just kind of going, well, what do they do next? Who's next? So yeah.
That's the way I'm feeling. I mean, just watch it from home. It does remind me of Clash, mate. When we were both there, and it's the same thing, coming out of there and going, okay, like fair enough. Like you're not doing it tonight. It felt like a great opportunity. So what are you doing? Like why? Like what is the next thing you're doing? Do you have any ideas, Andy? What do you think they're going to go with next?
No, I'm normally full of ideas, but I'm kind of perplexed. To be honest, this felt like the moment on the basis that who else is there really for Roman to kind of beat? And I already was fantasy booking who goes after Cody next when he gets the titles and things like that. And I think for the biggest question is like who has Roman got to beat next? Like, is it going to be all the way through to Saudi, which is at least a couple of months? Then he'll probably have a Money in the Bank. So is it going to be someone who has Money in the Bank that's going to beat him? Then you start talking about who's going to get that. So I don't know. It feels like a weird one. Obviously, the biggest talking point I would say that maybe people aren't talking about is Solo Sikoa. That was a big moment for him. He's cost Cody Rhodes, and like it's a big spot. It's a weird one. You'll know, having been to shows like live shows, you see things in the production and things. And I was dead opposite where the Usos were kind of like ushered out, and Sammy and Kevin. And then as soon as those guys left, you saw someone else come through, and you knew straight away Solo was getting involved. So it's one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, cool. I know a spot is happening, but everyone around us is like, nah, someone else is going to be an equalizer, like The Rock's coming out, etc. So, but yeah, Solo, that's a big spot for him. And obviously, like they had him, arm in arm with Roman at the top of the ramp. I don't know how much they showed on the network, but yeah, Cody was sat in the ring for a long time. Didn't leave until after I think we went off the air, because both Corey and Michael Cole followed up Roman up the ramp and things. So, yeah, interesting one. I know I was listening before. You guys were talking about the triple threat IC match as well. I don't know if it was on there, but they had a kind of reconciliation in the dark where they were hugging each other and kind of celebrating. And it looks like they've had some stuff on social media as well. So it looks like that's happening.
Yeah, so I see a little, like a picture of them kind of looking okay with each other at the end of it, but yeah, it wasn't shown on air as far as the actual presentation on the show goes. So it's interesting to hear that, because we were just wondering what's going to happen with those guys going forward as well. What do you see happening as far as Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously money in it. Like the Clash in the Castle match was amazing. This was amazing as well. I think it will get good ratings off of Uncle Dave and stuff like that. But I wonder if they're just going to pull it through all the way through to Money in the Bank and let them and do something there, because it feels like almost like home turf for the three of them being in Europe.
Yeah, no, that's what I've been saying all along. I think Sheamus winning it in London is the way to go for me.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. I just wonder if it's possible to. I don't know. I also feel like maybe they need to introduce someone else, because I think there's so many dream matches for Gunther to have. Or do they keep some in their pocket for when he eventually goes for the world title, etc.? Because I don't think that's a million miles away, but it might feel a little bit like it now. But maybe Gunther's the one that they go with to dethrone Roman going forward, because he's legitimately the only person who I can think of who's got that kind of status and clout that he could do something.
Yeah, I think the thing is we're not quite there yet as far as his presentation, because he's obviously a heel. So unless they turn him babyface in that time, look, don't get me wrong, it could happen, but I think that brings up the question of what is going on with the world title. I think they could line up though. I think it could be, as a lot of people think it will be, Cody Rhodes winning it at SummerSlam, and then maybe Gunther losing it at Money in the Bank. They do kind of align there as well. We've got July, August around the same sort of period there as well. So that's a possibility. But overall, mate, what did you think of night 2? Because I felt like it weren't as good as night 1. Don't get me wrong, it was a good event. Both nights were good, but I felt like night 2 was definitely kind of lacking in certain areas. Did you get me there? Can you hear me? Maybe not. Andy, can you hear us, buddy? Maybe not. Okay, right. So if he jumps back in here, we'll see if he hears us. But yeah, for me, night 2 definitely didn't seem to live up to night 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, night 1. I think night 1 was just too good to have night 2. I mean, there was a couple of good matches on night 2, but night one was just incredible. It was everything that happened on night 1. We had, let's just run down the list. Seth Logan, that was great. The impromptu, I won't say impromptu, but the show us where you've got tag match, that was fantastic. Then we had the Zayn and Owens versus the Usos. We had Charlotte versus Ripley. Right, like the whole thing just felt stacked, other than a couple of matches. So night 1 was so stacked. Night 2, other than the triple threat match, in my opinion, that was it. That was that and Roman and Cody. And I called the end of Roman and Cody about 4 days ago.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's very specific as well, talking about Solo as well. Ashok says James Ellsworth will end Roman Reigns' reign. Mate, at this rate, I don't know who it could be. We could build up anyone in this moment in time, because they all seem to be on a level pegging, because you can talk about a superstar like The Rock, and I don't think they would be beating Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? So it's it's interesting trying to figure out really who would actually be able to do it. But we'll see if we can get Andy back, guys. Once again, amazing that Andy's been able to join us from outside the arena as well. But we'll move on to the next match for now. And of course, we'll touch on the Cody Rhodes situation a little bit more as we get through this stream. So the next match after the incredible Intercontinental title match, of course, was Bianca Belair versus Asuka as well. Good match. Again, another one where it was, you know what? I felt like it was like a very good PLE match, or like a good SummerSlam match. It didn't feel as WrestleMania worthy as night 1's women's match. Let's bring Annie back in. Jimmy, mate, what did you think of Bianca?
I really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was one of those matches that probably won't get as much kind of it won't get talked about quite as much as the others this weekend. But I thought it was a really, really good match. I think maybe my expectations were quite low, which always helps. But I thought Asuka looked strong in defeat. Had a little bit more of a heel in there as well, which I like. She's supposed to be a heel, so doing the mist and missing and things like that, that was for me a good addition to her character. But Bianca Belair looks a star, doesn't she? Like her winning that is great for her. That's 3-0 at WrestleMania, whereas on the other hand, it's Asuka. Is she 4-0 the other way around? So she's not actually won a single match.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I do worry about Asuka, I got to be honest. And I also worry about Bianca. You know, a year is a great record. The intro that she had with all those kids was fantastic. Just shows how important representation is and things like that. And again, that's a big part of the interview we have with her on this channel as well. So I fully appreciate that. But at the same time, I do feel like she's kind of running her course as a babyface. And on the opposite side of that, Asuka feels a little bit lost. What do you think about that, Andy? Would you like to see a little bit of a change up to Bianca Belair's character, or are we too far in that John Cena territory where it'd be too difficult to take her away from that babyface shine?
I think you've summed it up quite well with that comparison to John Cena. It definitely felt like that with the kids being involved, and I think she's running a risk at the moment of turning into Super Cena, which is the Cena that people didn't like. I overheard a conversation yesterday when Cena's match had finished. He was like saying that they never appreciated Cena at the time, but now they actually love him, and all that kind of stuff. So it is interesting that it's kind of come full circle. Like yesterday, he did what people have labelled as the 5 moves of doom, and people popped for it. People went mental for it, which is I don't think has ever happened, even when he was at his peak of popularity. So yeah, interesting one. But yeah, I think Bianca's in that territory. So I think the way she turns heel is if she drops the belt and kind of goes in a bit of a, I don't know, like a mean streak or something.
And what do you think? Obviously, I don't want to keep you too long, mate. I appreciate you got to try and get back to your hotel and things like that. So a little quick overview, really, of the rest of the cards. Anything else that stands out to you that we might not have? Oh no, he's gone.
Oh, it's dropped. Maybe his phone's right.
Maybe not. He's
like,
he has got no battery. Great. Yeah, let's hope he's all right. He did run out of battery last night. It's all right, but he's gonna have to leave us now. He's just sent me a message privately. But yeah, no problem there. But a massive thank you to Andy joining us so much over this weekend. Of course, on the NXT show, he joined us live from the Crypto.com arena or Staples Center, or whatever it is called these days. And of course, gave us the ears to the ground on both night 1 and night 2. Incredible kind of coverage there from Andy again. So from RushOnRock.com, if you check him out there, he covers music and wrestling. He also covers wrestling on YouTube under Wrestling Royalty. And of course, his name is Andy Spoors. If you want to check him out on Instagram, Twitter, and places like that, at Sporsy19. So once again, a big shout out to Andy for joining us there. Let's move into the next match, though, Rob. And of course, it wasn't a planned match, and it wasn't really the plan of the unplanned match either. Because, of course, we had the Miz and Snoop Dogg in the ring having a bit of a laugh and a joke. Shane McMahon's music hit, and I know there's a lot of people skeptical about that in the first place. But look, again, child of the Attitude Era. Here comes the money hits. I'm happy. I felt it was nice to see Shane back on the big stage. I understand people's concern with it. Now, for me, as I said, he gets injured in this spot, and it's very sad to see. Anyone that's kind of making jokes around that is kind of annoying me, if I'm honest, because it's like when a footballer gets injured, it's like it's not your team, but like you shouldn't wish ill health on someone. Do you know what I mean? It's not nice. But anyway, from that we get an audible, and there's so much praise around Snoop for this, and don't get me wrong, I think he did fantastic to deal with the situation. Looking back on it, he is told by the referee to do the people's elbow. But what I got from this moment, mate, is that was always going to happen, and that they just sped that up. Because in my opinion, Snoop Dogg, look, he seems to be a wrestling fan, quote unquote. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. If Snoop would know what a people's elbow is out of the blue, if it wasn't already decided that it'd be doing a people's elbow at some point. So I think that what happened at the end of the segment was always going to happen somehow with Shane involved, but they sped it up. Now, again, credit to Snoop, credit to Miz, credit to the referee and everyone working in production to deal with this. But yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate cluster of a moment. What did you think of this overall?
So let's break it down into 2 bits. The idea of Shane being there, I'm not against it. I popped. I was like, oh great, like Shane McMahon's back for the moment. Obviously, especially with rumors of the company being sold. If this is the last time that we get to see a McMahon there while McMahon still own the company, then of all of them, I think we all would have picked Shane. I think that's speaking for everyone because everyone loves Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
As you said, from the Attitude Era to now,
That love's died off in
on.
recent years, though, which is what I do think has played a part in the kind of
Yeah.
ridiculousness I've seen on Twitter tonight.
However, the incident itself, obviously, we hope he's okay. But I don't know. I mean, props for Snoop for them calling the audible and then speeding it up. You're right. I do think he was supposed to do the elbow because the way it was done, it was planted and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then mistaking it and then being able to kind of figure out what's going on and all that sort of stuff. I'm not frustrated about any of that. I think my only frustration is, even if they'd had this planned, like Bobby Lashley come out and just held up his memorial thing. Fine. LA Knight. Like, I know we keep saying it, and I don't want to keep whinging, but why didn't, if he could have come out as a professional, like he knows he could have come out, cut a promo.
And this is always the thing with wrestling fans, though. People look at it and go, this instead of this, so therefore I don't like this, what they gave us. But like we said, we could have had both. We had an extra half an hour to kill. Why did we not get LA Knight earlier night? And even the timing of this show, man, it was so weird. They played the whole entrance for Seth Rollins again. What the heck was that about? I actually thought at one point we were going to get the whole replay of the match between him and Logan Paul. I was so confused. I was like, why are we watching the entire entrance again? It was so weirdly timed and paced. I was like, something's gone wrong. Obviously, that match went shorter than it should have. That moment or whatever it is. The next match, of course, has a big spot in it that seems to kind of cause a bit of an issue as well, which we'll get into in a moment. So, yes, I understand they could be a little bit ahead of time. But come on. Like, how have they not factored in LA Knight into this event? It's just wild. Like, he's got to do something on Raw after Mania, right? But then I think, well, why?
It's too late now.
Exactly. If they haven't done anything with him tonight or last night, why are they going to do something on Raw?
I don't know, but it's things like this that make you think, do you know what? I'm glad the product's being sold, so then other people can actually take over and actually don't want to care. And it's so frustrating when you get like that, because when you're predicting things that are going to happen a week before, and everyone's going, no, you're wrong. That's not going to happen. That's going to happen. And then it happens, and you're like, I told you. Like, there's a problem with the product. It's either that or I'm a flipping mind reader. Like, and you called certain things, and you was like, nah, maybe, and I disagreed, and it happened. So it's either we're fantastic and know the future. If so, then we'd need to do lottery numbers. Or there needs to be a change in what they're doing. But certain stars at the moment are so important to the company, especially if they're going to change over, they're going to transition. Certain people might not want to work for whoever's owning it, whoever's going to be buying it. So the people that are there are the stars, and you're not even getting them on the show. That makes them think, should we stay? Should we go? Contracts are running up.
Exactly that. It's such a missed opportunity, Like,
it is.
If you're LA Knight, like, you've got to believe in yourself. Don't get me wrong, but like, you cannot be unaware of the hype that is around you at the moment as well.
And the thing is, I understand they can change things on the fly, even on when they do promos, live events, all that. It says card subject to change. They can write a new section, like filler 3 with B-roll after. They can do that in 20 minutes if they wanted to. They can do it in 2 minutes, or they could just let them do. When we had do you remember when we had the drama with WrestleMania, when the weather was so bad that they were having to cut promos, and Drew was freshly cutting the promos, like, can you do it this way so my back isn't against the wall? All that stuff. So if they're able to do that because they're trained professionals, you could have just sent him out with a microphone and the guy would have been able to talk. Like, he knows how to talk.
Yeah.
So just something. But I just don't understand how you can have two big stars at the moment that people.
I don't understand how we all knew going into SmackDown that like he should have a moment at WrestleMania, right? We knew that going to SmackDown. We knew that 2 weeks ago. I don't understand that if you don't realize that then, and then it comes SmackDown, you still don't on SmackDown go, I reckon we'd give this guy 5 minutes on Sunday. Like, I don't understand how that doesn't.
Especially when you can hear the boos when he gets thrown over the
like
the
that
top
alone
rope.
Should make them, like you say, call an audible and go, we got to do something with him on Sunday. It seems like, again, just like Daniel Bryan and people like that, where they go, nah, that's not what we're planning, so we ain't going to do it. Like, they're shooting themselves in the foot here. And yeah, maybe, mate, on Monday Night Raw, he could be the top dog. He could close the night for all we know. I don't see it happening. But, like, it just seems ridiculously risky, even if that is their plan. If it's like, all along, guys, you should have shut up. We had a plan all along. We knew what we were doing Friday night. Like, you got to keep people happy. You got to give them something at WrestleMania. It was a massive missed opportunity, in my opinion. Right, let's move on, though. Snoop Dogg with one of the most interesting attempts at a people's elbow you'll ever see. Let's move on, though, to the next match. Of course, we did say there was a bit of a mishap in this one as well. But other than that, I do think it was a decent effort from Edge versus Finn Balor. We did start out with 2 special entrances, and we were speculating this all week, weren't we, Rob? Like, just saying, what could Edge do? What could Balor do? Of course, the biggest rumors were a demon, a Judgment Day kind of demon, and also Edge, a Brood Edge. We talked on the build-up show, and if you haven't had a chance to watch it already, guys, go back and watch it, because although we're hyping up for the event, we also go in depth on kind of certain conversations that we don't get to have any other time. And the big conversation really on this match was Brood Edge and how it wouldn't quite be enough if he came out with a fire and the music and like it had to go further. How do you feel now, mate, when all they did was literally put the words Brood Edge up and they literally tried to convince everyone that this was Brood Edge? It was nothing to do with the Brood and that era of Edge's character. It so frustrated me, mate. I was so angry. They played Slayer and he had some wings. It was literally Edge and his vision of what the Judgment Day first was for me. It was nothing to do with the Brood, and it was so disappointing. It was Ez cosplaying as the heavy metal superstar that he would like to be as a wrestler.
I don't think I've ever actually said this on this podcast. I'm not angry with what they done, but I'm very disappointed. And if you're a parent or you've been told that by a parent, bro, that cuts deep. I'm glad we can't swear. I would censor myself. But was that? Because
look, on its own, it's fine, right? And on its kind of like, if you compare it to the beginning of Judgment Day, cool. Like, that's what he was doing. That's the character he was playing at the time. But so much of Edge's run at the moment feels like the stuff he was supposed to do as Judgment Day, he's not in the Judgment Day, but he's going to do it anyway. And I'm just like, what are you doing? This has nothing to do with your character, and it 100% has nothing to do with the Brood. To use the Brood like as this, I think it was just because everyone assumed he was going to be Brood Edge, so they thought, you know what, we'll stick those words on the Tron. An absolute disgrace to the Brood character.
I mean, him coming up from the fire, great. I like the idea of it. But the wings, they look really good. Like, I'm not against that.
Yeah,
but
mate, the whole entrance is great. Nothing to do with the Brood.
Other than the awful disco ball looking thing, it looked like someone literally slammed a disco ball on his head before he went out. That's the only thing I'm against.
Even that, I'm not against that. It's just, yeah.
But this is my concern, and this is what I was trying to say to you earlier. And you was like, no, we have it every now and then. It's a special occasion. It's great. We get it. It's not overplayed. Now, imagine if we'd had Brood Edge for the last 3 months. The build for it as Brood Edge, slowly transitioning, becoming Brood Edge, becoming who this Edge used to be, becoming this mean, basically bringing the demon from his character, like Finn did, right? And then we get an entrance like that, we won't be complaining. But we're complaining. Why? Because we get a great entrance, and in the next night on Raw, we get a rated R superstar. I said it. I keep saying it. If you're going to do something with a character, either do it and then continue it down, or don't bother.
Yeah, my argument though was like a one-off is fine, but for me, it wasn't even the one-off. It was nothing to do with the Brood Edge. It was.
Yeah, but
ridiculous.
Can you see what I'm saying? If they'd have done this and built this up for the last few months, and then we had this as a character,
and this was like
it wouldn't be an issue.
jump from that version of the Brood Edge as well. But like, yeah, it was so weird. It was Judgment Day Edge, and again, we've been seeing that so much, and it just reminds that this whole thing. As much as I've loved the Judgment Day, it just makes you remember like what was this Judgment Day? Like, why did they start it? Why did they kick out Edge so soon? Like, the whole thing is so messy, and we've kind of forgiven it because the current version of the Judgment Day is so incredible. But at the same time, we're like, what the hell was that all about? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was so weird. But look, I didn't mind the disco ball mask. I didn't mind Slayer playing. I didn't mind Edge living out his fantasy as a heavy metal rock star. And I didn't mind Edge's wings. What frustrated me was this kind of pretending that had anything to do with the Brood. Yeah, he came up with the flames, and yeah, you could argue that's a big part of the Brood. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't have the theme song. Like, it was nothing to do with the Brood. He didn't look like Brood Edge.
The only thing that he had to do with the Brood, right, was on the back of his jacket. He literally had the photo of 3 of them sewn into the back of his jacket. That's the closest we had to the Brood.
That's lovely. But yeah, like, and then we go to Finn Balor. Like, I don't want to crap all over this because the match itself was great, and everything we saw was good, but just not what we wanted. Like, Finn Balor coming out with as the Demon. It weren't a movie star version that we thought it might be because of Hollywood. And yes, we thought purple's got a feature, but purple should have replaced the red, not added on top of the red. For me, it didn't quite hit.
Yeah, I liked it. I like the idea, and then he put the little fangs in here to like mimic the Brood and the vampire stuff, and I like that coming out with the smoky stick things, whatever they're called. I like that. Then slowing it down, and him
looks like an ultra for a European football team. Yeah, it was.
It just felt like he didn't know what to do because he's used to crawling and doing his bits.
So yeah, and they did the slow-mo bit as well.
And it I don't know. I don't think he knew what he was doing. It just. It literally felt like that they had this idea of, right, we're going to do this. This is what you're going to be. Your paint is. This is how you're doing your paint. This is what he's wearing. And then all of a sudden, just to make it work time, we're going to give you some smoke, but we're not going to puff it out like we normally do. You can hold it.
It felt like both of them were given things that they were told that the fans wanted, but they were going to combine it with what they also were going to do anyway. You know, like it was
atrocious.
Yeah, like it was like, because Finn, again, got to interview Finn a few months ago, and he was basically talking about not being the Demon for a while because it fitted, and he was going to use it whenever. And I speculated when it was first kind of rumored that he would be the Demon, it would be because Edge thought it was right. Judging by the interviews you've seen from Edge and stuff like that. And I'm not crapping over Edge here, but I just feel like it was. Well, I'm trying not to at least, but I just feel like Edge was going to do that entrance, and he was told people want the Brood, so they added a Brood element to it. And then I feel like Balor was told people want the Demon, let's do some sort of Judgment Day version of it. And both of them felt like they were holding back. Both of them could have been a little bit better. They were both good on their own, but they weren't what people were looking for. That was my only kind of complaint with that. The match itself, though, really good. Of course, it did suffer from the ladder spot that hits Balor on the head, and kind of there's blood and stuff like that, and again potentially affects the runtime of the entire show.
Did you hear what happened?
No, go
on. So obviously I don't know how close the reports are, kind of thing. I mean, I might get certain things wrong from what I've read, but apparently they put numbing gel on his head straight away. So they obviously were able to close the car. They put numbing gel on his head and stapled him literally outside the ring, and then he got back in the ring and carried on.
Yeah, because they really weren't showing what was going on. I wish they did. Like, things like that should be shown. I know they're trying to hide away from blood.
It reminds me of early, I don't want to say early NXT, but do you remember when it was NXT and it was Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe? One of them got open. Maybe Joe, and then they kept putting the Vaseline on it to keep it closed.
Yeah.
And the fans
he kept jumping out of the ring, coming back in. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, look, I understand the safety of wrestlers, and I'm not against that. Their health and well-being is fine. But what I do question is when you put them in a match called Hell in a Cell, and then all of a sudden they get a little cut or something, and you go, oh, no, we have to hide it. And I'm thinking, you got someone dressed as a super vampire, someone dressed as a demon, and you got a gimmick to do with hell, and you get
weapons
locked in it,
everywhere,
weapons galore, but a cut on the head, and that's where you draw the line. That's the double standard. So you're either going to do the gimmick, and if someone bleeds, allow it to just happen and deal with it, the consequences after, or just don't do it at all.
But even though
I
covering it up is fine, like giving the staples, like that's hardcore, man. Like a dude getting staples outside the ring is mad, like, or like this numbing gel, like show us that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Show us that's what's going on. Like hype up the injury. Like it's mad that they're not. You know, that's a frustration for me as well. Ken Lord says it's family friendly violence. That's the thing. Yeah, they're kind of treading that line, aren't they, Ken? You know, trying to figure out where they stand when it comes to the Hell in a Cell.
Do you know what?
Go on.
With them being bought out and UFC being obviously what it is, we could go back to TV for Wayne. There's an option for that to happen. I guess that's, you know, if it's
depends
UFC,
how close they align these businesses. I don't think they're going to do it that much.
I mean, just for things like this, obviously, I understand the accident happened. It wasn't planned. That sport was planned, but the injury wasn't. But come on now, like we've seen people.
It's a PLE, like it's the biggest one of the year. Like you could show something like that, it'll play up to what's going on. Again, like you said, they did it a bit in NXT as well. So like back in the day, why can't they do it now? So a real kind of air of confusion around that for me.
That match was cut short too.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it was, and again, it was a good match. The cell itself is the red cell painted grey. By the way, it's not the original industrial silver chicken wire looking thing, as Lucas called it earlier on. It is just the grey version of the red cell, which isn't amazing, but it's better than the old red cell. Convenient ledge as well for Finn Balor to do the coup de grace and stomp himself straight through the table, which was also conveniently bowing underneath Edge's back as well, which was, I was like, mate, just hurry up and do this spot because I don't want this table to break before you get there. But yeah, there were some great spots. You know, I don't want to be down on Balor and Edge here. You know, this is a feud that's been going on for a long while, but like I think exactly what it needed to be as far as the match itself goes. Edge won. I always thought Edge would win because he got kicked out the stable. In my opinion, he should wrap up the feud, but of course you weren't really seeing it that way.
So firstly, like you got kicked out the stable. If you want to end the feud, okay, let the person will get kicked out, get his moment, he gets his win, happy done, move on. But this is what winds me up. If the demon is that important, right? Don't bring the demon out. And then all of a sudden he loses to Roman. Okay.
Good point.
We'll accept it because it's a really bad finish. The turnbuckle broke, and that's what happened, right? It wasn't the greatest finish, but we take it. But for the demon to go into the Hell in a Cell and then lose the Edge clean in the Hell in a Cell, that's just everything that they've done for this demon. Just never bring the demon back again.
Yeah, like, again, when I interviewed him, you could tell there was a hesitancy about it, and even I think the Roman thing. I would imagine, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I would imagine that both times Finn has probably thought, I don't want to do this. You know, because he's known what was coming. Like, and I don't think this is like he should never lose. I think there was time and a place for the demon to lose, but both of them have been weird. I think the worst one is the first where he just fell off the turnbuckle.
Yeah, when the buckle just exploded.
From it. At least this one was inside a Hell in a Cell against the Hall of Famer at WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? If there's any time to lose, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, look,
the thing is,
go on.
This is my thing, and I spoke on obviously our podcast, Talking Beans podcast, obviously with you and Tom. Obviously, I spoke on here about it, and I always say, look, I don't mind the demon character. My issue is the demon character does the same stuff that Finn Balor does. There isn't something, and the only thing that's special about the demon is the paint.
The entrance, yeah.
It doesn't do it different, and I keep saying for you, do you remember what I was saying?
He does some things different, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah, but it's just a painted cut version of Finn Balor. That's what you're getting. But then I always say there should be a move that the demon does that Finn Balor doesn't. Yeah. And then when that happens, you're like, oh well, it's game over because no one kicks out of it, and make that an important move. Yeah, the way we had Baron Corbin with the End of Days. And all that sort of stuff. Something like that until it finally got kicked out of, right? But that moment is the shocking moment. The demon lost. So that was already the shocking moment. And then to have him go against Edge and lose again, that's like when we got Taker losing to Brock Lesnar and then at WrestleMania, and a couple of years later, he lost to Roman. He'd already lost. He didn't need to lose again.
Yeah.
What was the point? Because it just belittles what he'd already done. He'd taken a loss. The character had lost. Don't make him lose again, because that's going to make it even worse. So now he's lost again. Just stop the demon, scrap it, and don't bring the damn thing back.
Yeah. So you want to get rid of the whole demon thing altogether now? I think it is. I think it is something that's it's kind of been ruined. Yeah, it's kind of.
You can't rebuild that. That was as bad.
Unless it's something that comes back like within like 2-3 years. I don't think there's any reason to use, because it wouldn't be seen as a threat, would it? Wouldn't be seen as anything credible.
No, not now. Not at all now. As I said, if he had a specific move and he kicks out, then the move would be credible. Because only one person can kick out of it, or two people, and that's it. Even that's bad enough. But to not have anything special that he does, do the coup de grace through the table, great. And then still lose the edge. Which is why I said to you, this feud should have been done a long time ago, and the only person coming out of this that looks bad is Finn Balor. Edge gets his win. Now Finn Balor looks stupid. One, for coming out as the demon, which clearly he didn't want to do, because when you done your interview, he was talking about doing Judgment Day stuff. He didn't. He actually said that's not on the card. Basically, that's not on the cards. That's basically what he said.
Yeah,
he wants to focus on Judgment Day. So he comes out as the demon, which didn't look like he wanted to do. It looked like a really bad design for the demon. The whole thing was a mess. The feud's been going for about 8 months, and it's been the worst feud that I think we've seen with Edge for a long, long time. And then on top of that, the demon loses. Now, who do we get? Like, what? Imagine you're in Finn Balor's shoes right now, and you're thinking, well, I dressed as a demon, and I've lost. I've gone against Edge at the final point of this whole story, and I've lost. So who really gains from that, Edge or Finn Balor?
I was disappointed as well not to see anything to do with the Judgment Day in this as well.
This match should have Edge. The only thing that should have happened in this match is Finn Balor going over. Because if Edge wants to put over the younger guys, why didn't Finn Balor win? Edge didn't need to win. If he's on a legacy run, he could lose and still.
I know what you're saying. I just think that Edge needed to win the feud is the only thing. I don't think it cost Balor that much to lose the match. I think on its own, like, the entrances were fine. Like, they were good even. The match was good. And Edge winning, I think, makes sense. But there's just so much baggage to this feud, and so much baggage
it's just too messy.
To the Brood. There's so much baggage to Finn Balor's portrayal of the demon. That, yeah, you're right. It's very, very messy.
And I think, as I said, Edge goes home. He takes a little bit of time off. I think this is the end of his. He's got running down his contract now, right? So if he doesn't resign, he doesn't resign. Finn Balor's still there. So Finn Balor goes back to work on Monday, or goes back on Friday and does his stuff, goes back on the road. He's the one hurt from it as a character, but it's fine for Edge because he'll go away, he'll come back, fans will pop again. Balor's now got to deal with, okay, I've lost to Edge in Hell in a Cell as the demon. Like, that's bad enough as it is, and now he's got to try. Yeah,
I think it's a demon thing that really adds to it, because losing to Edge at Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania is nothing to be ashamed of.
No, but as the demon,
the demon is a bit of a.
It's even worse. So, and then it belittles what he's doing.
Yeah,
I kept saying, what's next for this person? The important thing is what's next for them, because the part timers will go, and then the ones that are there every day, I've got to pick up the slack because they've dealt. The part-timers have got their payday. Now, Edge has got his payday. Finn's there on Monday. And the Judgment Day are going to look awful. So, in my opinion, it was the wrong decision.
At least it looks like we are sticking with the Judgment Day going forward. As we said on night one, it looks like we're going to have Ray and Bad Bunny seemingly going up against Dominic and... Damien Priest, sorry, there we go. Again, like I said, it's 6:45 in the morning here in the UK. Thank you for sticking with us. But yeah, let's move on to towards the main event. This is where we do start to get these random thrown up things as well that seem to really just be delaying the night. But eventually, we do kick it off with Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Fantastic opening for this match. Both entrances were absolutely incredible. Roman Reigns, of course, having the pianists, and Cody Rhodes using his Cody, Vader, whatever they call it, him coming up from the ramp facing the other way this time and then turning around. Incredible entrance for both of them. And the whole time I'm watching Cody Rhodes come out, I'm thinking, no, I think this is it, man. Like, I think he's doing it. You know, I was thinking, looking back, I was like, this feud, not so much this feud, but this, I guess, part of the story, at least. There's so many layers to it. But Roman Reigns wins the title at Payback 2020. At that point, Cody Rhodes, just to put it in perspective, Cody Rhodes had just lost the TNT title to Brody Lee. That's how long Roman Reigns had the title. Of course, we know sadly Brody Lee's not with us anymore, and that feud continued beyond that. Cody Rhodes since then left AEW, and shockingly, well, that was a shock enough in its own, showed up in WWE and then had this incredible year, of course, within that as well, a lot of time out because of a crazy injury, which didn't hold him back for an insane Hell in a Cell match as well. So there is so much beyond this before you get into the bloodline, before you get into the long reign of Roman Reigns, that I was thinking, I think this might be it, man. Started out slow, this match, definitely picks up at the end, a million near falls. And as we touched on earlier on with Andy, it was Solo that made the difference, as you predicted as well. I've got to be honest, man. I shouted at my TV when the 3 count hit, and I don't want to be a silly little Mark thinking, "Oh no, it should have been Cody." And I'm sick of Roman Reigns. That's not it. I like Roman. I do think there's a risk of him getting stale. He did get stale a few months ago, and they keep bringing it back. But it was very reminiscent to me of the Drew McIntyre situation. I bought then at the end of it that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's worth telling a long-term story over what feels like an incredible moment and opportunity in Cardiff. Maybe we carry on. And we did carry on. And it seemed like maybe it was Sami Zayn. And it was like, well, no, it's not Sami Zayn because there's a long-term story to tell. And then we thought, is it Cody Rhodes? Well, it turns out at the moment, at least, it's not Cody Rhodes. And I got to say, Rob, I was very angry when that referee's hand hit the mat for the 3rd count. Very, very frustrating. Yes, we talked about all week how it's possible that the story doesn't end at WrestleMania. I guess that's the one kind of saving grace here, and it could be on the 1000th day or beyond for Cody Rhodes. But for me, tonight was just another kind of a moment of being hit in the stomach and being told, look, I know it seems perfect, but we're smarter than you and we're doing something else. And my goodness, Ron, do I hope that whatever they've got up their sleeves is gonna kind of land, because at the moment it doesn't feel like it's gonna beyond what we've already seen.
I mean, they can't be that smart because I said it Thursday. Unless they watch that stream and was like, oh, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Let's do it. Yeah, but no, for me, I just feel like, what now? Like, if it's not Drew, like, I don't. The only way they could do this now is Cody again. And don't get me wrong, that could be the case. But if it's not that, they've missed 3 of the big. Because now the story is like who beats Roman and how they beat Roman. And
what's the next PLE? Backlash.
But I've never seen an example where there have been 3 incredible opportunities: Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and they squandered all 3 of them. Because every single time that's happened, I thought there must be a big plan. You know, all along the entire reign of him, it was like, is it Big E? Is it Riddle? You know what I mean? There were so many kind of possibilities, but those 3 are like almost once in a lifetime opportunities, and they've had 3 of them in 6 months, and they've not pulled the trigger on any of them. Unbelievable circumstances, and they've done nothing with it. And that's my big concern here, that they don't have a plan.
I think their plan is Roman gets the 1000 days, and they're going to fill in the blanks as they go along. My prediction,
like that's the most
Roman is in
important
the
thing.
backlash
To spread it out further. You know what? I'd imagine it could be Solo versus Cody at Backlash.
Cody Backlash, yeah.
And that's just sidestepping again. That's doing the same thing you've done with Sami Zayn. Do you know what I mean? And
the problem was this:
out a bit, but
they've done this with Sami Zayn because Cody had won the Rumble, right? So they had Cody win the Rumble. They didn't realize how good the Sami Zayn stuff was going to be and how quick it exploded and what the fans were like behind it. The minute they hit that, they hit a roadblock of basically, well, we've got two big, massive baby faces. One of them's got to win the title, and it needs to be Cody because he won the Rumble, but it needs to be Sami because of what's going on. So Sami got his moment on the first night of Mania, which I loved. But they can't now, and in the process of doing that, every day they get closer to what their plan is, it's the next day 932, day 933, day 930, until they get there. And then they put themselves into a corner. It's like, well, they've got the potential to have a 1,000-day champion. Do we not do that? Because we're not going to get that again in this lifetime.
But that's the thing. Like, I understand the temptation, but like, is it a missed opportunity? Will even a Cody win ever mean as much as it could have meant tonight?
I think it happens I really do. I think it happens on 1,000 days.
I mean, yeah, you could argue. I mean, look, Daniel Bryan won the title and got screwed out of it straight away, and he still won it again after that, and it meant even more. So that's the one we remember. So yeah, it could be the case for Roman Reigns. Sorry for Cody Rhodes, but just disappointment. Maybe it's the emotion of the night. I don't know, but it was an incredible match, man. Like million near falls and stuff like that, and even the way it was done, like solo. Like I get it. Like, and even again, that was it with Drew as well. It was like, I was kind of cool. Bringing in Solo. Disappointing. I wish I was there for the moment, but, it is where it is. We're going somewhere else. I'm just worried that the idea of 1,000 days clogged their minds so much that they're not really thinking about the greater story, which will be whoever dethrones him. Do you know what I mean? It's
the problem is now, though, it's the story is this, right? And it's kind of another. The stories are intertwined again because. Let's say, okay, Cody won the Rumble. He didn't win it at Mania, right? Now, Roman's close to 1,000 days. So Cody's now going to go against Solo. He's going to prove that he can beat Solo. And I guess that's another thing. So we'll get Backlash done, and then we'll get a promo or something like that, right? And then it's kind of in that position of, well, I beat Solo. I beat the person that cost me. I want a match between me and you.
Yeah.
Maybe a stipulation. There's no one at ringside. If there's anyone at ringside, anyone gets involved, you lose a title. There has to be a stipulation like that. And then Cody wins clean. And the only thing they can do then is go, okay, well, we've got the 1,000 days. We've got a 1,000-day champion. And now Cody can win it. And that's the only thing they can do because they booked themselves into a position where they want the babyface to look good, but they also want the heel to be a 1,000-day champion. Because in the record books, that's what it says. And that's important to them.
I think you're right. I think they're trying to get the best of both worlds. I just worry that in doing that, they're going to diminish what the moment of beating Roman could be. But I think in their heads, they're thinking, well, it'll be bigger because he'll be a 1,000-day champ. And I get that argument. I can't help but feel at this moment in time very emotional about it. Like I say, that Sami was a great opportunity. Drew was a great opportunity in Cardiff. And
I mean,
Cody
saying
was a great
that,
opportunity tonight.
I won't go as far as say it was a great opportunity, but Theory had the briefcase. Even that was a wasted opportunity.
Yeah. It's
I'm annoyed that we're in this situation where we're going, but we've been saying for months now it's going to 1,000 days. And then when it got to 1,000 days, and then the stuff with Cody, and then staring at Solo, and I was like, "There's something going on with them." Then when they done the thing, the match card, and then Cody said to Solo, You're not ready.
Not ready.
Solo went to spike him. Cody kicked him. Then they had the match. After that match, and Cody had won. And when we done our prediction and stuff, I was like, "This is what's happening." And it was so easy in my opinion, it was so obvious because I was like, "Well, that's what's going to happen." And then when we were making the predictions about if the Usos are winning or losing, I was like, "Well, they're winning. Like they're losing because Owens and Zayn are going to win, and they're going to make the save, clear them." And I literally said to you, he will be kicked out. He will then come back. He will do the spike, which will then cost him, and then Roman will get the victory. Like I literally mapped out exactly what was going to happen, and as the whole thing happened, I was like, "Out come the Usos." So out goes Solo. Out come the Usos. Out comes Zayn and Owens. Then out comes Solo, and then out comes the spear. And I was like, I literally mapped it more than once. So
yeah. I mean,
1,000
everything
days.
you said though, like, and everything they did was great. Like, having Sammy and Kevin come out, I think was good. It added to the drama, added to the tension, and added to that hurt. I mean, the idea is at the end of the night you feel hurt because the heel won. Like, so they kind of did the right thing there, I guess. If they're going for the heel win, but it's I just worry that they've lost sight.
Clean. I think that's
but
the
again,
main thing.
that's part of the the character and all that kind of stuff as well. So I kind of get that, but I'm just worried that they're missing great opportunities to end this reign. But in 5 years' time, what are you going to remember? You're going to remember the title reign itself, or you're going to remember who beat them? And I guess that it depends what's most important to them when it comes to that as well. But either way, like, again, a fantastic match between the two of them. Some great moments. We mentioned Brody Lee earlier. Of course, we have Brody Lee Jr. at ringside as well. So that was a lovely little touch there. The negative one. It was a nice little touch there as well. Cody performed so well. We got the greatest hits at the very end, and I was so shocked. And again, they did a great job. Like, they suckered me in. I thought, he's literally hitting. That's his dad's move. That's his brother's move. This is his kind of legacy move now. Like, this is it. We're going. And then he couldn't. It was never quite holding Roman in the right way. And I was thinking, this is a bit struggly looking. And all of a sudden, you get Solo. And again, as much as I'm kind of disheartened about some of it, I got to agree. It was great visuals, great storytelling, and stuff like that as a moment itself, and a fantastic match as well. But overall, man, I really enjoyed WrestleMania. I think night number one definitely is kind of one that's going to kind of live on in people's memories a little bit longer than what happened on night two. There were some fantastic things on night two, don't get me wrong, but overall, I think night one was booked and built a little bit better. And maybe that played into it because it felt like night one we were just getting started, and night two was going to be the surprises. I said it earlier on the build-up. This where we might get some returns and stuff like that. Literally everything like that happened on the first night. Yes, we got Shane McMahon as well in that unfortunate situation with his injury. But other than that, like, that was pretty much it. It was just about the matches themselves, which you could argue that's what a wrestling show should be. But for me, night two definitely could have been, I guess, planned a little bit better than it was.
Obviously, there was hiccups along the road in night two, injuries and stuff like that. So obviously that can't be helped. Audio balls are called, things have changed, times have changed and stuff like that. What frustrates me is the booking order for certain matches. I mean, again, we're talking about the women putting on a great match. It was a really good match. Okay, maybe it wasn't WrestleMania caliber, right? And as you said, it would any other PLE, that'd be fantastic. Mania, maybe you do need to put out a bit more. The fact that Asuka missed the mist, I love, because it shows that it's not always accurate. And after she spat it, what else is there that she can use? I love that idea, and they play on that. What frustrated me, and I guess you'll agree, is we literally just had the IC title match, and then you want to bring us and get us to watch a wrestling match to be excited when we've just gone up from trying to get over that. Like, it was such an exciting match for the triple threat for the IC. You should have done Snoop Dogg and the Miz.
That's when that should have been. That's a good point. The pacing was so off on that.
The women were never going to get the attention they deserved. No matter what they could have put on a 10-star match, and it still wouldn't have got the credit it deserved, because they'd just gone on after the triple threat intercontinental match, which was amazing. So they could have done everything they wanted. They could have had a Hell in a Cell match, and it still wouldn't have delivered, because everyone was talking about the match beforehand, and that's such a shame. Like, because the women were great, like even the show us what you got match, at the beginning, we was like, we again downplayed it, and okay, take away Ronda and Shayna because they weren't in the match, they were just there and then went. Take away that moment, everyone else in that thing delivered. Everyone got their spots in. Chelsea Green looked good. Sonya Deville looked good. I want to see Sonya as an independent wrestler, as solo wrestler, because she looked amazing in that match.
Yeah, it's been the case for a while now. I think she's they're missing a trick not doing that. But I think everything, like you say, everything on the show was good. It feels weird to be kind of downbeat about it, but it was just the pacing was wrong, and it felt like night one. Like, it should have been night one. Like, if you would have switched these around and gone, next night is going to be the big one, I'd be like, that makes sense. Like, in hindsight, you know? So that's the only thing for me. But anyway, it's been great covering WrestleMania this weekend with you, Rob. It's a real privilege to be able to talk pro wrestling on this channel. We are the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. If you haven't joined us before and this is your first time, thanks so much for jumping on this stream, whether live or on demand. It's 6 a.m. for us live here in the UK. And don't say we don't love you guys, because we're going live just to kind of help this stuff grow and kind of reach out to you guys as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We've had instant reactions for Stand and Deliver, and also we've had instant reactions to night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania now as well. So thank you so much for joining us on these streams. We've got a lot of content going on with the channel. We spoke about how to fix WrestleMania week, how to fix the Hall of Fame as well, because I'm sure you'd agree there are a few things that could be a little bit better about WrestleMania week. As much as it's been a fun one, an exhausting one, some of these shows get lost in the shuffle, namely NXT and the Hall of Fame. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, please check those streams out on this channel as well. It's been real fun. We're going to be here covering Backlash, of course, and we've got a load coming up on this channel as well. A lot of stuff in the archive, including interviews with the likes of Imperium, the Royal Women's Champion, who's now, congratulations on that, by the way, getting to 1 year. A great interview on this channel with Bobby Lashley as well. So please check out more of our content on this channel, and please subscribe to kind of be kept in the loop about what we're doing going forward. We've also got a great video on here that Rob recently released on this channel as well, based on Rey Mysterio's career as well. So a very good one to dive into around WrestleMania week, because of course he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So thank you very much to everyone that's joined us tonight. And again, throughout the weekend, we hit our target of 500 subscribers. It feels so good to be able to say that. Of course, what's the next big one, mate? I guess 1,000. We're on the road to 1,000. Let's get to 600 first. Don't get me wrong, but let's dream a little bit bigger than that as well. But it's been a good weekend, mate. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I'm ready for bed.
Me too. And on that note, we should say we're going to be back for Raw After Mania coverage as well. We've been kind of hyping it up this year because it does feel a little bit different. We have done a predictions episode already based on kind of the likelihood of all of those faces you're seeing there, and about 20 more, to be fair, that we dove into. Kind of maybe some of the ones you haven't quite thought of or don't quite remember as well are possibilities coming back on the Raw After Mania. But if it's anything like the way they treated LA Knight, I'm a bit worried to say we might get none of them. But either way, dive into that. Get yourself hyped up for Raw After Mania, because there is opportunity for it to be a special one. And we'll be back tomorrow covering that and more WWE content overall. I've been Scott. This one has been Rob. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.